Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat for the week of January 28th, 2016. I kept saying 2015 for the past 2 episodes. No one corrected me. I'm very ashamed, but my name is Jose Otero. This is IGN's Nintendo Show. We're joined once again by Per Schneider.
Hi, Jose.
Brian Altano.
What's up? Hi,
and Meghan Sullivan.
Happy New Year.
Hi, Meghan.
Right. All right. So we have a lot of things to talk about, but let's kick it off with games that we've been playing. Meghan, you reviewed Final Fantasy Explorers for IGN.
I did review it.
Cool. So I'd love to let you talk about it. So this is a Monster Hunter-esque sort of foray into, it's in the Monster Hunter style is my understanding.
So it's kind of between Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy XIV. So if you've played Final Fantasy XIV, you'll sort of recognize a few attributes of that in this game. But basically, if you don't know what Final Fantasy Explorers is, it's a 4-player multiplayer game. You can play it solo, but basically it's an action RPG where you, as this cute little explorer, go around an island fighting Eidolons, summons, Aeons, whatever Square Enix is calling it this time around.
Change it all the time.
They change it all the time. So this time they're going back to Eidolons, and I think that first appeared in Final Fantasy 6/3 in the US is the first time we heard that, but every Final Fantasy it changes.
Yeah,
so
okay, interesting.
It's okay if you're totally confused, but you're fighting summons like Shiva and Ifrit, and they have a couple of new summons that you can fight.
So is it kind of like, I haven't played it yet, but Crystal Chronicles was kind of like their 4-player co-op franchise. Is it a replacement for that, or is it very different?
I don't know if it's a replacement for that, but it's very much like that. So what's cool about Final Fantasy Explorers, though, is you can play solo and you can actually have monsters in your monster party. So you'll go out and you'll fight different monsters, and sometimes they'll basically drop the equivalent of what is a soul. And you take that soul and you take it into town. There's only one hub town, but there's a monster lab where you can actually create monsters. So if you fight a Tonberry and it drops its soul, you can actually create a Tonberry to follow you around in battle, and it will knife things for you, which is actually pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Those things have always been creepy. You remember the Tonberry? It's like a little purple with a trench coat clad turtle.
It's like a fish.
Yeah.
I'm amazing you didn't make a joke about dropping a Tonberry, but
I was waiting for it too, actually.
I was looking at him like, he's not going to pass this one.
Nervous.
But yeah,
they were class it up a little bit
They're
today.
like the typical is not intimidating, but is
Yeah.
actually really, really evil inside kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So it's like Marlboros and stuff like that.
Sure,
like
or
the-
Cactar.
Those look scary to
Cactuars.
begin with.
Yeah, those look really creepy. And so you can actually have those in your party. So if you don't have 3 other friends or people online that you can play with, you can actually take monster friends out into the world and basically
like
wreck
real life.
things.
Yeah. Is there a good variety of characters to sort of customize your party with, or is it a small selection? Would you
No,
say?
it's basically your avatar. Now you can customize your avatar however you want. So you can swap in and out of different outfits. You can actually collect outfits of different Final Fantasy characters that you know.
So that's why I saw people running around as Cloud.
and-
Okay.
Yeah, Aerith and Squall and all of that. And those outfits actually aren't just visual. They actually come with their own stats. So if you have to go out and battle, I think it's the summon Shiva like 10 times solo before you get enough Genova cells to acquire the Sephiroth
So
outfit.
here's the RNG element, which is a very heavy thing in
Right.
Monster Hunter as well.
Yeah,
The drops are RNG.
Yeah, but the rewards are better if you go out with other people. So instead of fighting the same Eidolon 10 times, you only have to fight it like 3 times. And it's a more difficult fight, so there's where your challenge lies.
Okay.
So it sounds like there's a lot in it, but you didn't love it.
I didn't love it. It was okay. So
Yeah.
one of the things is I just mentioned that it's better to play with friends because there's more of a challenge. But if you play by yourself, I was 10 to 20 hours in before I started to feel like I was contested on the battlefield. It was really easy. I mean, I wrecked the Eidolon Alexander in about 30 seconds. And if you know that summon, you know that that's one of the more notoriously difficult summons you have to battle.
Are you sure you're not just like really awesome at video games?
Well, that too. I mean, that's absolutely a given. But
Throw that out there.
Yeah.
So is that like a balance issue? Like you were too high level by the time you encountered it, or is the game just easy for beginners? Or
I think Square Enix said out the gates, like, yeah, the solo story is kind of like a large tutorial, and then once you finish the solo story, other stuff unlocks.
Yeah.
So different Eidolons will unlock, and different outfits will unlock, and different challenges will unlock. But I felt that was a kind of a strange approach,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And then in the meantime, there's not a whole lot to explore in Final Fantasy Explorers. It's a relatively small world where even with
randomly
an airship,
generated, right?
Yeah, the dungeons,
Okay.
well, the dungeons are randomly generated, but the overall world map is not. And so airships will drop you off at different areas, but you still have to walk everywhere. And that's weird for a handheld game, because if you're playing in short bursts, you're like, dude, I have a half hour on this bus ride, and 20 minutes of it was walking to my objective.
Yeah.
That's kind of garbage.
And it's a lot of landmass to cover. Like it's interesting because the Monster Hunter comparisons feel like it comes up all the time. It feels like it was very much geared towards coming closer to that style, but still trying to be its own thing. And I will say though that Monster Hunter also does the single player campaign, and for them it is meant to be or feel like a tutorial. But there are monsters that will just wreck you, and that becomes part of the challenge of it. Like how do you approach and just in those fights themselves, just to drag back to the Eidolons for a second, are those fights satisfying? Like, do you feel like you're watching out for certain tells? It's sort of a fun fight. By the end, you feel great, or is it more, man, this thing has a ton of health, this takes forever? Was there frustration
They're
there at all?
definitely more challenging than regular monsters, but it was very strange. Like I said, the Alexander fight, like when I ran into that thing, I was like, oh, I'm going to be dead in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And I only had one monster companion with me, a Black Knight, and he just went up under Alexander, started hacking at it, and basically killed it single-handedly, and I did nothing but, like, run around, like, trying to distract the Eidolon.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, that's
so
mine.
I was like, all right, that's it. But again, I mean, I know that people were kind of like picking on me. They're like, hey, you said it's repetitious, but isn't Monster Hunter repetitions and other stuff? And I'm like, yeah, but I fought Shiva like 10 times in slightly different forms and slightly more difficult.
Like a lot of video games are repetitive, and there's good versions of that and there's bad versions of that. You know,
Right.
it's not. I don't think something being repetitive is inherently a negative all the time. Something being boring and repetitive, or not challenging, or not stimulating and repetitive is a problem.
That's exactly it, right? Like you can't go back to an arcade game from the 80s and not
Right.
say, "Hey, I've played the screen over and over,"
Yeah.
right? But it's
Like
like,
Pac-Man,
the way they
right?
smartly ramp up the difficulty and the challenge and the competition from the score makes that game.
Sure.
And whereas like some games just make you like I absolutely hate the, hey, you've beaten all these guys before, now all 4 of them, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it when the elements get recycled, but there's nothing kind of unique to it, or it's not challenging, then it becomes.
And Monster Hunter
boredom,
comes
right?
close to that, but I do feel that they do a great job of once you've overcome certain challenges in that game, you always find something new to chase after. You always find something new to hunt, and there is an inherent satisfaction that comes from, holy cow, I'm on to the next version of this. Or, oh, this monster, they did this thing in 4 where monsters would become infected, and the fight would be over very quickly and be like, well, what happened? I just
Right.
beat this monster in like 5 hits. And then it would come back to life. It had a whole new pattern of tells. It had a whole new set of attacks. And you were there like, slack-jawed, because you're like, well, now I have this is my new challenge. This is the new thing I have to focus on.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's sort of a Dark Aeon version of certain Eidolons in this. If you're familiar with Final Fantasy X, you know that you could fight Dark Aeons, and they're really hard versions of the same Eidolons, and they kind of have that in this. But even then, I found it was a trickier fight, but not necessarily a more difficult fight.
Okay.
Like they still had the same tells about when they were going to attack, so basically I did the Dark Souls thing where you never stand still, you just keep moving and dodging and then throwing out spells and throwing out or doing abilities. So
Did you like how it looked? I mean, I think every time I see that game, it looks gorgeous. Like I love Square's sort of artwork.
it looked good. It was good. It wasn't great. It was nothing to write home about. The soundtrack was pleasant, but not memorable, and
Interesting.
it didn't push anything. And I guess that's why I was a little disappointed, as I
Well, you've
expected
played every Final Fantasy game in the series, basically,
pretty much
right?
literally.
So,
I've played every
Yeah.
Final Fantasy game, and I try
It's-
not to be like, oh, well, this has to compete with
Right.
Final Fantasy 12 or Final
Sure.
Fantasy 15 coming up.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which one's the best one?
Ooh, best versus favorite.
Crystal
the,
Chronicles.
The best one, in
my
my
favorite.
opinion, if it's your favorite, then that's totally okay.
No,
the
it's
best
not.
one is
You don't like that one?
No, Brian has to go if that's true.
What's
But
wrong
keep
with you?
going.
It's a great game. You
Yeah.
get 4 of your
We just
friends
hit
with
the
Game Boy
eject button.
Advances or on a TV. It happens all the time. Everyone has all that.
there you go.
Unplugged
If
game
you want
over.
to play
Cables.
multiplayer
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, you can play that one.
All right, what's the best?
The best one is 6, in
Okay.
my opinion. And in fact, we have a top 100
chose
RPGs, and that was number
wisely.
1.
I thought you
The-
almost said we have a top 100 Final Fantasy games. I'm like, oh my god. Are there
That
that
is-
many?
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're
like
getting there, yeah.
79 to
Yeah.
80.
Really?
Your favorite?
No. My favorite is 4.
Okay. The two
Tal and I
really,
agree.
really good choices there. Yeah.
Yeah, like
music-wise, those two
Yeah.
are just.
If
My-
Super
my-
Mario is the
Amazing.
reason I started to play games, then Final Fantasy 2 is why I became a lifelong gamer.
Really?
And I said Final Fantasy 2 because I'm an old person and I
Yeah.
played it on the Super Nintendo.
Are you talking about
American
2
too.
US
Yeah, the SNES.
with Palom and Porum and
Yeah,
Cecil?
Plum and Piran.
That-
I
That's
mean
my-
5.
Was that so? Which number is that?
That's okay. So it's,
Are we
it's
talking about the same game?
Two is 5.
We
That
are.
is my favorite Final Fantasy of all time.
Okay.
That is my actual favorite Final
Boom.
Fantasy of all time.
Boom.
But every time I
This
tell
man
people
knows.
mine is number 2, people are like, "Oh, you mean 4 Japan or 3 Slovakia?" I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's
No,
you
it's
lose
really
me.
confusing. It took
Yeah.
me years to, 6 is 3 and 2 is 4, and I'm like,
6 is 3.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Did you
3
just
on the
learn this?
SNES.
You lost me.
It was
Final
very
Fantasy 3 on the Super
confusing.
Nintendo. Basically, a bunch of episodes of Final Fantasy installments
2,
of Final
3, and
Fantasy
5
didn't
never
make-
Right.
came out originally in
Yeah.
the U.S. because
Okay.
Yeah.
for whatever reason they weren't.
Curious, which
localized.
one's your favorite?
My favorite out of all Final Fantasies is 6, followed by 4, followed by 5, followed by 10.
Okay.
And then, you know.
That is
I
such a
know
good
7
list.
lovers will always want to murder me for it. I felt like I was such a diehard fan of the Super Famicom, the Super NES ones. I felt something was lost when we went from this kind of grid-like setup that felt very, very focused and smart and had all these hidden things to this pre-rendered map. I just didn't dig it. I liked the story in that game, but I felt like something was lost.
I'm the same way.
But
Yeah. Okay.
but
The
I understand
story
it's many people's first Final Fantasy
Yeah.
game.
What?
Now wait,
That
so
story is a hot mess.
So
though.
2, our favorite Final Fantasy, which is I'm just going to refer to it as that from now on. That was remade on the Nintendo DS, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
that
Okay,
one
so
was-
if I wanted to go back and play that game again, I could buy that cart and play it on my 3DS, right?
No, I think 4 was for the DS, just the regular DS,
Okay.
not the 3DS.
Yeah, it'll work on
But
the
it's
DS.
been
Yeah.
ported
Not
to
on the 2DS.
everything,
Yeah,
so you
they
could
put it on
probably.
PSP. You can
That's
find it
right.
in a
It's
bunch
on.
of
I
places.
think it's on
4DS.
iPad and iPhone.
I swear, I feel like my favorite is 5, and I feel like 5 never gets enough love. Now 5's story, super predictable, charming, crystals, fine, but 5's gameplay, the refinement on the job system, which 3 introduced, which we never got, the real 3, not the one
Right.
you played.
Yeah.
The real 3, not
I-
the DS one.
I love the job system too, and like
Job
those
system's
those
incredible.
three to me are just all fantastic.
Yeah, they
I
are.
like I stood in line. I lived in Tokyo. I stood in line in Japan early in the morning in Akihabara, waiting for each one of those games.
Good
and
man.
They were hundreds of people standing.
Wow.
in line. It was great, and they had enough copies for everyone. Thank you.
And to quickly jump
Yeah,
in, the
good
job
people.
system in Explorers is
love that.
really good.
That's
I
right.
love
Yeah.
that
Okay.
you can be a Dragoon and you actually can do real-time jump ability, which is really cool because the Dragoon, Kane from Final Fantasy 4/2, is one of my favorite characters, and that jump ability has saved my butt so
Yeah.
many times
Nice.
in
Very
so many
cool.
different games.
And
Yeah.
5 has amazing music too. I
Yeah.
mean, like those 3 just can't go wrong.
I
And
always
Gilgamesh.
love the.
Gilgamesh is
yeah.
in that game.
There's a job fiesta every year. There's a group that does the Final Fantasy V. I think it's called Job Fiesta, and basically you're tasked with a certain style of playing that game where you have to adopt certain rules
Yeah.
and you follow them, and then you chronicle it on GAF and stuff. It's a really fun thread to follow and a really
Yeah.
fun way. It's funny, an interesting way to watch that game be played.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to hear the job system made it into this thing, and it sounds like it's a good
yeah,
idea
and you
for
can,
a game like
you
this.
can go into town and you can swap out jobs between missions, which is really cool. And as you go through the game, you unlock different jobs, and just about every job that's been in the franchise is open to you. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Very nice. Very
cool.
nice. Okay.
Yes.
Ultimately, final score.
Final score was 6.8.
Okay.
It's okay. Unfortunately, the repetition, the travel system, and the lack of challenges till pretty late is what holds it back. But hey, if you like playing Final Fantasy games with other people, you know,
Worth a
you
look.
might very much enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Seems cool. All
Well,
right.
thanks for reviewing it and enduring the inevitable. What does she know about video games? If she doesn't like JRPG, she should stop talking.
Hey,
now.
we don't
That
talk in
happened.
reader
That
voice.
happened.
We don't talk in sassy reader voice
No,
on the
but,
show.
But
I don't know.
I'm
Yeah.
quoting
Maybe.
one specific
Yeah.
person. It's just so annoying. Just
yeah.
you know.
That is that one guy's voice, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
literally
That's how we all
he talks.
picture it.
Be-
All right, so
be
then
nice.
let's move forward to Hyrule Warriors Legends, which I am the only person playing at this table because it's out in Japan on 3DS.
What do you know
I
about
talked
this
a little
game?
bit about it last week, and it is. I mentioned how technically it struggles. We're not getting this game until March, but frame rate issues for sure, especially if you have 3D on. Overall, though, the look and feel of the game really feels better fit on portable. They've also redone the campaign in a couple of ways. So, for example, in the first mission, they sort of ask you to start using the character swap system, so at any time on the bottom screen where the map shows up, you can switch to one of the other players who's at the battle, one of the other characters who's there. And as you know, Hyrule Warriors is this big mashup of a bunch of different Zelda timelines, a bunch of different Zelda art styles. This game has every character they introduce as DLC plus 5 additional ones. Linkle apparently has her own side chapter. So after you clear, I think, the third mission of the game, you're allowed access to it. It has this cool cutscene opening. Ultimately, I think I have kind of mixed feedback on Linkle. Like I think the concept of the character is really cool. I like the idea of that she's using crossbows. She kind of reminds me of the relationship between Sakura and Ryu in Street Fighter. It feels like that's a relationship to some extent between Link and Linkle, even though it doesn't seem like they even know each other. But at the same time, I'm kind of bummed out that Linkle is presented kind of like a ditz. Like she doesn't really, she can't read a map.
Oh,
And
no.
so she like runs in
no.
weird directions. She has this adventurer spirit. She thinks that she is a descendant of the legendary hero because her grandma told her, I think is
She's
part
an
of the
imposter,
story.
basically. Misguided
And
hero.
And she like Link, the game kind of points out how Link just kind of shows up in different situations. He didn't really plan on being there, it just happened.
Yeah.
I feel like they're trying to play that vibe with her character as well, and I think on some levels they succeed and it's okay, but on others I'm just like, well, I wish there was a little more of a heroic quality to this person outside of she can kick a lot of.
She
No,
can't.
I was
read,
gonna
she
say.
can't read a map.
But
Link could read maps when he was 6. Like in the first game, he gets a sword, and then he goes in the first temple and he gets a map, and he can read it.
Yeah, but he can't climb over a tiny bush.
Well, he didn't have to back
He
then.
can't.
Everything was flat.
He,
What were you
he
gonna
can't,
say?
he can't
to
do
it?
anything.
He can climb over
He
bushes
gets
with a
killed
step
by
ladder.
an octopus.
That's
Okay,
true.
Or maybe
okay.
that was just me.
More to the topic.
No,
of
but
Linkle.
like
Let's go with
watching you
this.
play Linkle, you're saying you wish she could do more, but she's like freaking juggling.
She's John. She
dozens
goes full
of
John
people.
Woo. Yeah,
yeah.
she juggles everything. She has an amazing moveset. She's a really fun character to play as.
Her
I feel
fighting
more-
prowess is not in question.
Not at all. It's
No.
more how I think she's presented. I'm still just not
Her
sure how I feel
cognitive
about it.
abilities are questionable.
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Yeah, and you can say like, I mean, you're one of the founding members of IGN's Anime Club. I mean, is this a trope with some heroic females? Just like sort of this clueless, like I just kind of land.
The dumb ditzy Genki girl, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
where they're very upbeat and charming, but they're dumb, but they can also kick butt in a fight. Yeah,
Right.
that trope does come up, and it's always a little disappointing because we've all seen it. We've been there. We've done that. I was hoping that Linkle, maybe she'd be super smart or super resourceful in battle. It's a little disappointing to hear that they're like, well, we can't have a female who kicks butt and is smart. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm
and there's
hoping that's
plenty-
not really.
Yeah, and I don't think it
Yeah.
is because there are plenty of female warriors in that game that are absolutely
Yeah.
capable. You
Think
have
of
Impa, you
Impa,
have Zelda, you have even
Midna.
characters like Midna. But for something that I think people, there was a lot of fan support for Linkle when the image was first revealed in that art book, where it was like, hey, we had a girl version of Link we were kind of toying around with a concept of, but it didn't make it into the game. And the fan response is the reason that thing made its way into this 3DS port. So I was just, I guess at the end, it sounds like I'm disappointed. I think I am because I feel like they could do a better job of giving this character a better story. Now, granted,
But Dynasty
this
Warriors
early
is
in the
not the
story.
best game
It's not the
to-
best vehicle
Yeah.
for that,
Yeah.
agreed. And ultimately, this is still, I'm early on in the game. Who knows? Maybe she has a pretty uplifting arc
Yeah.
that completely
Where she
changes
learns how
the
to read a
opinion.
map.
Well, I don't think that
gets hooked
changes
on
at all.
I mean, I don't think it's okay. No one's saying that she needs to be sort of the most sophisticated, intellectually superior character in all of history. The way you're describing the kind of tropes is interesting because it's like they've written a lot of them as kind of ditzy and stupid, but they're still powerful. I think like maybe meeting in the middle and being like, she can read a map
And
is kind of like I don't
They're
need you
going
to
for
write
fish out of water. Is what they're
Yeah.
going for, right? Which, yeah, you see in anime all the time.
Yeah, you do.
But-
And to be fair, maybe this is how they're trying to distinguish her from other female characters because if you look at Zelda, she is kind of the epitome of like a really good female character who's smart and resourceful herself,
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
depending on the game.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is their way of making Linkle a little different, but it's still like you can't read a map.
Yeah.
Oh, that's no good. That's
Yeah.
not a good start.
Yeah, that
No.
seems
she's
like
cursed.
basic. That's like entry level stuff for the
Dyslexic.
Zelda universe. Like I feel like the cows in Hyrule.
I
can
believe
read
in my girl. I
maps.
think she's gonna learn to read a map.
I hope so.
Yeah.
By the end
Well,
of that game,
I'm curious to see what Nintendo will do with this character ultimately. I mean, Aonuma has told us that she could appear in another game.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to have some kind of a Linkle crossover.
So how do they depict
Like,
this?
who
Is she
knows?
holding it upside down?
You can see the video on IGN.
Okay.
Like check it out. It's ultimately her just kind of
He doesn't wanna
twisting and
tell you.
rotating it.
Go
Yeah,
on IGN.com
So she is
and
holding
check
it
it
upside
out.
down.
yeah. You can ultimately see it. But yeah, other than that, I think I have really mixed feelings on the game because I feel like on a technical level there are obviously some issues because this was a console game that was put onto the 3DS, not the other way around. Usually the other way around is a bit more elegant and ends up looking a lot better. But at the same time, I feel that the features, the characters, and all the things that are packed in make it something I still want to keep playing. And the fact that it's kind of a mindless game you can play on the bus or on the train.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like during any commute or trip. I feel like that kind of game fits better ultimately there than it would on a home console. I'm not a big Dynasty Warriors guy for that.
That's actually why I liked Hyrule Warriors more than I thought I would, was because I could play on the gamepad while watching a TV show or something like that, and just kind of grinding. It's very passive. It's kind of like you describing Final Fantasy made me kind of think like, oh man, I wish it was kind of more of that kind of stuff, because sitting there and being able to marathon through a TV show and just grinding on my 3DS is a kind of cool thing to do. But yeah, it's weird. Like, have you now? There's a noticeable difference in quality between playing this thing on a 3DS and a new 3DS.
So I still need
right?
to play it on the old school model.
Yeah.
I have not touched that yet, but I have heard plenty of talk about that. And it's not just slow loading, but apparently even frame rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that's worth mentioning to anyone interested in this game, that we haven't really seen a ton of stuff that's new 3DS exclusive or that really benefits from playing on that platform. But yeah, that's very odd. It makes sense, though.
I got a quick question, though, because I'm a little behind here. Is Linkle the official name or just what we're all calling her?
No, that's official.
It is the official name.
That's official.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they did.
It's
It's a bad name.
It's not the best name.
I agree.
It's like Tingle. Like, why did you name that character Tingle? I don't understand.
Well, yeah, it's a I don't know who came up with that.
What would you have named
Tingle?
Tingle?
The weird name fits the weird sort of dude. With Linkle, I don't feel that name fits her well at all.
No, Megan, what would you name Tingle?
Something that doesn't rhyme with Tinkle.
Weird little Link man.
Linka,
Lots.
Linka,
Brian.
I don't know.
Loompa.
Nightmare Elf.
There you go.
Chain. I don't know.
Yep.
Boom.
All
There
right.
you go.
There's your terrible joke for the
Well,
day.
Megan, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you drop your Twitter handle and let folks know where they can find you?
You can tweet at me at Megan, MEGHAN_IGN, and you can catch me every Wednesday on the site on IGN Anime Club.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll be right back.
All right, bye-bye.
Here we go.
Welcome back. Jose Otero here with Per Schneider and Brian Altano, and
What's
you
up?
cannot hold on to that water. Did you somehow turn on the internet this
I did
morning
that on
and
purpose.
see
I wanted to see
something?
Brian's reaction, but then I quickly noticed that Brian thought I did it by accident.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I
I'll
did.
tell you. So I thought it was in response to this morning's top story. So
was it?
in Japan, apparently Nintendo might be working on a Smash game that is going to be prepared as an NX launch title. So this news, first of all, comes right up front. This is speculation. This is based on a rumor. The rumor comes from a reliable friend in Dr. Serkan Koto. He is in charge of a company called Kantan
Sounds like a
Games.
Star Wars name, doesn't it?
He's a doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, PhD.
What's he doing linking
German-born,
Smash Brothers?
German-born, also knows Japanese. I think part of me thinks he's Pear's like long-lost brother, just because they both somehow ended up at different ends of the
Your
gaming industry.
doppelganger.
I'm joking, but more importantly, he tweeted this morning, Bandai Namco is currently developing several NX titles. Smash Bros. Is planned to be a launch title. I am not sure about the date yet. And then he further clarified, it was not made clear to him if it is a new installment or if it is a port. Again, you got to take some of this with a huge grain of salt. However, this man is very much involved in the Japanese game industry, make no question. He runs a consultancy. This can be credible information.
Yeah, and he has
gained
shared
from a
credible
source.
information before,
He
right?
has,
Things that
yeah.
have come true.
For example, before Miitomo was shown, just to piggyback that and put that in front of people, before Miitomo was shown, this guy was making it very clear that the first Nintendo mobile game was not going to be what anyone expected, and in fact, it's going for a big, wide audience. Wait till you see what this thing is.
Yeah.
And he ended up being right in that Miitomo was that.
this is not somebody saying, there's a new Xenoblade coming and it's made by aliens.
Right.
This is actually, someone who has a bit more of a connection. So it's good. I mean,
So let's chew on this. NX launch title, Smash.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Way too soon.
What?
It's way too soon.
depends on when it's coming
D-
out.
and it
Again,
depends on
like,
what it is.
What if the NX comes out 2017 November?
Then it's got bigger problems than launching with the Smash Brothers.
What if it's a port of the Wii U game?
Then that's probably okay. I mean, are you going to double dip?
Given the amount of time that, Smash Wii U just wrapped a year
Yeah.
ago. Let's be honest, a year and a
Not
couple
even.
of months.
It wrapped. What's in the Bayonetta's not even out yet, right?
What do you mean?
As a playable character.
No, yeah, that
So it wraps
DLC is
when-
coming in
yeah,
February.
it wraps
No,
with
but I
that,
mean
no?
in terms of the core game, like obviously there's still some DLC left, but it is about to basically be about
Yes.
to be done with Smash Brothers in
Yeah,
February.
they had
That
this,
is a
they
great
had
point.
the direct. They said goodbye
Yeah.
and thank you.
But let's think about this for a second. So Smash was a huge investment by Nintendo that in the long run felt aimed, timing with Mario Kart, to resuscitate and revitalize Wii U, which at the point before those games came out was fading, was not doing well. these were two huge Nintendo franchises, possibly their biggest. Mario Kart ended up selling well, considering the install base, over 50%, or close to that. Smash Brothers Wii U, though, out of the gate, sold better on 3DS because of a higher install base. So, as of September, here's the numbers.
It was also out earlier on 3DS, wasn't it?
It was out earlier on 3DS, that's fair. But so let's crunch some numbers. So as of September 30th, which was the last time Nintendo reported numbers, quick aside, they're about to report some numbers in a couple of weeks. I think next week Nintendo is going to report their next set of financials. Smash Wii U sold 4 million units worldwide on Wii U's 10 million install base. Smash 3DS sold 7 million units on 3DS's 54 million install base. I think at the end of the day, maybe if this is a port of, I assume this is a port of Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
If this in fact turns out to be true.
Well, you assume it's the port of the last Smash Brothers.
I'll tell you what it is in a second, but keep going.
I assume it is a port of the last Smash Brothers game, meant to keep that community going, keep tapping into this army of people who are very much happy with the last game you put out, and you don't want that audience to basically be left behind on Wii U. That's what I think this is for.
Okay.
I also think that at the end of the day, if that is the case, that this is a port of the last game brought up to speed with Wii U. However, does that mean that that NX does not support backwards compatibility? To me, it says that. The obvious counter on Twitter came from Boo Fasai, because I tweeted something like that, and he said, well, Wii U is backwards compatible, and it's still getting HD remasters. I don't think this is the same case. It's getting an HD remaster months later in Twilight Princess HD or Wind Waker, a year and a half into launch. You don't launch with HD remasters with, a port of a game from last gen, do you?
I mean,
everybody else does, though.
The Wii U launched with 20 game ports of last gen games.
So
it didn't do a thing.
So guys, 2 years after, or even a year sometimes after a big Bethesda game comes out, there's a gold edition for the same platform with all the DLC included. I think this is going to be a championship edition. Capcom did it to a fault with games like Street Fighter, where they included new characters, did updates based on the arcade versions, right, to keep the fighting game scene alive. This is Nintendo's first esports success, right? Smash Brothers is being played. Some of the older games are still favored over the newer games, obviously.
Melee still has a big audience, for sure.
But this is not something where Nintendo wants to take a break and let that die down. So they want to keep the story alive. When the new platform is out, they want to have Smash Brothers on there, whether through backwards compatibility or a new championship esports gold edition that includes all the DLC that you otherwise would have to buy separately.
If this port exists, if this is in fact a port, I don't think backwards compatibility is on an X. I think they're going to let that ship sail, which would be a first for them for home console in a while. Not since the GameCube has Nintendo said, forget backwards compatibility. And before that, N64 wasn't backwards compatible with anything either. The handhelds have consistently kept the feature. I feel like the home consoles, it was not always a mandate until Wii.
Right.
On Wii, you got GameCube games again.
Well, hold on, because there's a difference between being hardware backwards compatible and software.
And that means Virtual Console's going to be back. That means you'll probably see Wii games as Virtual Console. If this is, in fact, a port. Now, what if it isn't? What if it's a brand new Smash game? That seems unrealistic to me.
Well, because
that seems insane.
Yeah, if I can't just take my Smash Brothers disc and put it into the system, into the NX, and go, oh, I'm playing it now, my Wii U game, then I hope there's a solution, because otherwise I'm buying that game for a third time. Because I bought it on 3DS, I bought it on Wii U, and then I'm going to buy it on an NX.
That's a good counter.
I like Pear's theory of it basically taking everything and combining it into one. Nintendo doesn't really do that, but then again, they haven't really had a long precedent of having games that have a year-and-a-half lifespan of content re-releases and updates. I mean, Mario Kart, Splatoon, and Smash are the big three where they've actually done stuff like that.
Yep.
For the most part, they have decades of just selling games that are finished and walking away from them and moving on to the sequels or something else.
Sure.
So
it's a
that's
great
kind of
value for people who didn't jump on it to begin with.
Oh, sure. I mean, you sell the game for $50 or $60 with all the DLC. Some of those content packs are, a couple bucks each, so you're saving some money in the long run.
Yeah, and here's what you can do. Right now, Smash Brothers is coming to an end. The digital content releases are coming to an end, right? They ran a giant poll asking everybody what characters would you like to see in this game. How many characters came out of that poll that are actually going to be in the game?
I don't think that makes it to this NX port at all.
So
I think the door is closed on characters. If you're going to focus any more attention on making more Smash, you're making a new Smash. You're not going to put that.
but that's why I'm saying it's like you can Like if right now, if they're noticing that the sales of the add-on content, if it's declining,
Okay.
and even though they have all these great ideas for additional characters, or even like licensors saying it's cool, you can put my Shovel Knight or whatever you want in that game, they're basically saying like, you know what, DLC downloads are too low at this point for this game. We need to jumpstart the machine again. And like nothing is better than to jumpstart a failing economy than a new release, you know, like a new NX coming out with a launch game being Smash Brothers Gold Edition, whatever it is, and then they ramp up the DLC machine again. Not for the Wii U version, but for this new
So
one.
let me ask you guys this then, like, assuming that our prediction right here is entirely correct, who is this for?
I think it is for the NX owner who missed out on Smash Wii U.
So it's for people who didn't buy a Wii U.
Yes.
So I don't
I don't
necessarily agree with
I
it.
So you're talking about, like,
you don't
peop-
agree with that, or you don't agree with the move?
Because they, first of all, they didn't capture enough of the audience,
They
right?
did.
And so
So
there are
why-
lots of
who
people.
else would this be
so
for?
lots of people they could be selling it to. I think they're also going to target the people who are happily playing Smash Brothers but may not be downloading content anymore. You know,
Yeah.
like you're renewing the excitement for Smash Brothers. It has everything the old game has
Yeah,
in
but
it.
those people
and
could renew
and
it
then
themselves
more.
by connecting it to the internet. They're not living on an island where they don't get Nintendo updates.
You don't often
Nintendo
go
has
back.
reported that a majority of the people who have that box plug that box into the
I
internet.
know, but you don't go back. Like not a lot of people go back to games from 2 years or a year ago and keep adding content, right? There's a limited life for all but Minecraft,
Okay.
right? Minecraft kids will keep on downloading skin packs until we're all gone and buried.
See, I don't know. I do think that the primary focus is people who missed out. There's plenty of this is a
Well,
big tempo game, huge
ideally,
community,
right?
Yeah, there's plenty of people who at the gate, the amount of investment, the amount of time, the amount of money that it took for Nintendo and Namco to make this game. I think that they expected it to do better in the long run, and it didn't.
Who missed out? Because I feel like any Nintendo fan who wanted that game bought that game across one of the two platforms it was available on.
I'm pretty
Anyone
sure
who-
there are plenty of people. If
But
you
what
think
were
about
they
it.
waiting for? Buying a brand new console? I don't think so.
I don't think they were, but I think that's who they're targeting.
To play ostensibly with a much smaller
Dude, there are
online
plenty
user
of
base.
people who say, "Hey, if I was going to consider a Wii U, I need a list of games."
Yeah,
some people are
right.
still on the fence, waiting for that magic game to show up. And for some of them, Smash wasn't that game. If Smash is an option at launch, if you have a really cool online with all DLC, I see that as a win for them. Going, hey, that and whatever Mario game they're selling, you're good.
I hear you, but I think they can easily double dip. If you are creating a gold edition of a game that everybody loved on the Wii U and you add 4 new characters into it, people who own the original will pick it up, man. Come on, we all bought Wind Waker twice. We all bought Twilight Princess twice. It's not because
So
we don't
what-
have access to the older games.
Well,
You
hold
can
up.
plug in your Wii right now.
Sure, but those are totally different scenarios because if I plug in my Wii right now and
Yeah.
play Twilight Princess, it looks terrible.
Right.
Like and the original Wind Waker was always a gorgeous game. They added some tweaks to it, like fundamental tweaks that made it more fun. The pacing was better, and it looks so much more beautiful now. Like it actually looks. Wind Waker HD looks now like the way we thought we remembered.
That's a great point.
This is a different
detective
scenario,
vibe.
though.
But what
Yeah.
if what if there are 4 extra characters and 10 new maps in it?
Then I don't think that necessitates a generational leap, nor does it imbue any confidence in me having to buy it for a third time. Like, if I can buy characters right now through my Wii U, why would I have to buy an NX to get new characters? Is the power of NX bringing me new experiences, such as a character that's paywalled behind a console?
And let's look at other
Come on.
HD
It
remasters.
adds-
Not to dogpile you, pair, but let's look at other HD remasters. When The Last of Us, which was a very successful PlayStation 3 game, went over to PlayStation 4, that was including basically all the DLC up to that point. In most scenarios, that's the avenue you take. I don't think
Also-
it basically pays off for them to push for more content when at the end of the day they have enough. There are 50 plus characters in Smash. There is enough stuff.
The main
in there.
reason The Last of Us was ported to the PS4 was because 75% of PS4 owners hadn't played The Last of Us.
It was a late last gen title, right?
Which means
Like-
that they looked at the scenario and they said, we have sold so many of these consoles out the gate, and there's this experience that no one's ever had before. Because this was a lot of people's first PlayStations, right? The PS4. So going by that bet, if the NX is a lot of people's first Nintendo console, which obviously they're hoping for, you know, that you don't want to just get that dwindling group of Nintendo fans, because that's what we are. I mean, it's the same people who buy the console every
It's
single
10
time.
million strong. That's it.
Yeah, and
That's not a
it
lot.
shrinks every time because if you look at the Wii, you look at the GameCube, it's gotten smaller and smaller.
But Brian,
so
you
new
just
people.
explained my point.
So, no,
that
totally.
scenario is exactly
I
the
meant
same
to.
point.
I
Yeah,
meant to.
no, I mean, I think that that's the case, and I think it's a smart move if, in fact, it is true.
Yeah.
And having something like that at launch, I think, is the equivalent of sort of to some extent what they did with Twilight Princess, which, don't get me wrong, was a brand new release at the time either way. But for a lot of people, it was like, oh man, this is my first Nintendo console in a while. I haven't played a Zelda in forever. I'm willing to give this a shot.
But I think you have to be careful.
Smart.
I think you have to be careful with paywalling any new content behind it, which I also don't think there's going to be any of, because I agree with Jose that the door's closed on that.
I mean, on an NX version?
No,
Yeah.
No, I feel
If
like
it's a
they
port
would
of the last
they would
game.
restart. They would restart that engine. I mean, the last thing, like I think the model of having a game like Smash Brothers, where every month or every 2 months you add one more character, is actually really smart. Like, it gets people to go back and play. The problem is people are not buying the Wii U's. On the contrary, they're mothballing them, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is true. Fewer people are going to play Wii U, and if you release more characters, it's going to be diminishing returns at this point.
Well, I think
why not take that game, launch it alongside other new games on the NX, and say, hey, the market is open. Here's
But
more
it's got to be
because you're going to have plenty of excitement for this game being on that platform for people who didn't own it the last time around.
So, but that's the thing, though, because this is a far bigger, far-reaching issue here. Is that Smash Brothers was supposed to be the big system seller last time around, and I think it did its job of moving units. I forget, did they do bundles for it?
Yeah, so there was the Smash Splatoon bundle, which was just this past Christmas.
So yeah, stuff like that is great. I think that if anyone looking at the Wii U, like pretend the NX wasn't even coming, you're looking at the Wii U right now, and you go, I really want to play Smash Brothers. You go, yeah, but it's not worth buying a console. And then you start to say, well, they also have this, and this, right? Like, you have to build the list in your head, and you start saying, is this future-proofed as well? I think if you launch the NX with Smash Brothers, a Mario game, maybe a Zelda port or something like that, you're not going to win over anybody new. And those same people who didn't buy a Wii U for those very same reasons are not going to buy an NX, because that library exists right now on the Wii U, and it's not working.
But I think you're underestimating the amount of buzz that NX will have, especially if it is a neat device, versus the amount of anti-buzz Wii U has as a platform right now.
I agree.
I think you are underestimating the amount. It's the same thing right now with VR and VR goggles, and people like going gaga over like, oh man, technology, and this sounds cool and all this stuff. And VR to me still doesn't have the system seller. You take NX and let's say the feature is whatever cool feature that's going to change your life. Changes your life. It's awesome. And then you say you're going to get a Smash Brothers, you're going to get maybe a new Mario. I'm hoping. And by the way, some people are interpreting this as, well, are they going to launch with a bunch of what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for here? Last gen ports, like prettied up ports of games they've already sold or played. I don't think that's the strategy at all. I think it's just a realization that Smash Brothers takes a long time to make. We don't know if Sakurai is or isn't going to come back for the next game. And at the end of the day, it pays off for us to have something like this ready versus waiting another 5 to 7 years for it to get made.
No, for sure. And I think it does a good job of padding the launch lineup. But everything I hear about the NX makes me think it's going to lead us and hopefully lead us to new experiences.
The promised land.
Well, or at least something different or something new. Now, it either has to ape the other consoles and be the most traditional Nintendo console ever. Meaning
not going to happen.
It's got a controller, it's got the best graphics on earth, and it's got all the third-party support in the world. That's one angle, right? The other path is we're going so crazy, so different, and so new, like the Wii or the DS, where it's just like, man, I have to have this thing because it's so creative and so unique. I think in neither of those worlds does Smash Brothers really fit. Like, brand new experiences on the NX, and you go, oh, one way to do that is to play a game from a year and a half ago.
Yeah, but I think Smash Brothers is kind of like the Nintendo land. It's like this title that encompasses all of Nintendo's biggest brands
and best qualities.
And unlike Nintendo Land, which felt like an open and shut case, it is a platform. It's like, like Microsoft has Killer Instinct, where they build on the title and release new content. And like, I think the thought of that coming to an end with the Wii U is a pity, when they could restart that or shift it right into NX. What if it's bundled in? That's your free game with the NX, right? But it's not the big showcase, the show pony, the Mario Galaxy 3 or whatever it's
Sure. But I mean, to backtrack, I think Nintendo Land absolutely should have been an open platform that had new updates. I think that was like right on the precipice of before they decided, hey, we can make games that don't just exist that day. They grow for a little while. If you look at Mario Kart afterwards, Nintendo Land shouldn't have just lived and died the day it came out.
It's interesting you guys feel that way, because as someone who very much appreciates Nintendo Land, and I feel like I appreciate that game more and more when I have other people to play with versus playing alone.
Yeah.
I still feel like that game completely, to some degree, missed the point of what I think Nintendo's best qualities are as a developer. Like, I do feel like it had elements that were very inclusive, but I feel like its entire approach and design was a very take it or leave it things, where sometimes, like the Animal Crossing minigame, it was very cool, and in others it was just like, I don't want to play a Zelda that's like this. Like, it was almost Triforce Heroes before Triforce Heroes, but nowhere near as punishing.
It was the idea of an amusement park. Like, how would you adapt it for an amusement park?
But it still had those things that people really don't like about certain Wii games, where there's a very Spartan, very sterile, sort of no personality, no signature character. There's a character. The main character, or the most interaction you have with a character on that game, is that screen that talks to you. I forgot her name. I think it's a girl.
It's Monitor Head.
Monica?
Mona. I think it's Mona.
Monita.
I don't remember.
Monita.
Yeah.
So that being said, I mean, love it or leave it, Nintendo Land was an interesting launch game because it at least showed off the perspective of what you could do with the game.
Yeah, it demoed the different controller types.
And I'd love to be corrected by the future about this, but I don't know how a port of Smash Brothers is really going to show off what NX is capable of doing. Because
I don't think that's the point. I really don't think that's the point. I think this is, hey, here is an awesome game.
So it's a buffer. It's a pad, basically.
I think it can be construed that way, and I think it also will be, to some degree, something that is going to work on their new network, is going to incorporate a bunch of new features. I think that at the end of the day, whatever Nintendo account and all this Nintendo Club, whatever they're calling it these days, I think all of that will feed into whatever this thing is.
And again, like esports, right, is Activision's talking about it. Bobby Kotick wants to run all of esports, basically. EA is talking about it. Everybody feels that esports is a must, and competitive gaming, if you want to call it that, right? Having hooks in their games that get people to come together and play competitively.
And Nintendo's acknowledging this.
And Smash Brothers is that only ticket in Nintendo's catalog. And to think that is going to go away for 3 years is a scary proposition for Nintendo, right? Like, they want to keep that alive. That's why I think it makes total sense to put a special edition on the NX right at launch and just keep the events going and everything.
If they wanted to do that, they'd remake Melee in HD.
I think you got to keep in mind, though, the creator and how he feels about Melee, and how he still wants Smash to be very accessible. And Melee is an excellent game. The scene is vibrant and awesome. But I also think the Smash Wii U scene can and is currently vibrant and awesome.
Sure.
And I think that both can exist. I think one day, of course, the Melee kids are going to have to move on. Or if not, maybe they'll just play it forever. There's some people who still play Smash 64.
Of course,
But at the end of the day, I think it's better to focus on the future. And I know people want Melee HD. I'm not trying to be the anti-voice here on that, but I'm pretty convinced that's not going to happen.
No, you're right. With Sakurai's comments about the game, especially how what did he say?
He would patch it to hear him back, and they would be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Who wins in that situation if Melee HD?
No,
happens?
you're right. Because if even one pixel is off, people are going to be pissed off.
I can't do dash dancing. I can't do all of these advanced techniques. It's like, well, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, this is part of like a larger issue, and I think it's indicative of what we've been talking about on the show since we've heard about NX and what we'll continue to talk about all year. But like, who is this platform for, and what's it going to do to bring in lapsed Nintendo fans?
Well, we know if this thing exists, it's for there is a very hardcore element alive and waiting there. Sorry, and also for everyone, even because Smash is that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's not. I think it's like, I think part of me is just I'm a little irked by this story because I'm just kind of like, well, I've done that already, like twice. I've experienced that game and everything it has to offer twice. And I don't know if that being a big selling point for day one. But then again, if this is not for me, then maybe that's a good thing because I'm one of your 10 million strong Nintendo fans that'll buy it no matter what. Like, I'm going to buy the system no matter what. That's the reality of it. Like, no matter what, there's as skeptical and cynical as I could possibly be, there's no scenario in which I'm not there day one. And I've been there day one for the last few.
Same.
I was there day one for the Wii U, where it took me longer to get a coffee than it did to get my console at GameStop because no one was there. And it was odd. It was a weird feeling. And I want the world to come in and see what Nintendo's capable of doing again. So I hope that the NX provides a wide variety of awesome new experiences and hopefully some familiar ones that people missed the last time around. But I don't want it to just be ports.
Man, I feel bad because we have gone on this for way too long. So let's move on.
We love Smash Brothers.
Yeah, we do. On this show, we definitely do. So Pikachu Detective. This is a game that's coming out to Japan on 3DS, February 3rd. This was announced roughly a year ago. So the name roughly translates to Detective Pikachu, Birth of a New Team. I'm saying that for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
But
Birth of a new team.
birth
Yeah.
of a new team
Like
because
somebody gave birth
you
to
know
a whole
what
team?
Pikachu
Like birth
chooses
of a new duo, like
Yeah.
people working
Oh, okay.
together.
because
yeah.
Pikachu chooses you.
Pikachu and
To be
whoever
his-
Shujinko, whoever the main character
Whoever that guy
is.
is,
The main character is you. No, the main
Well,
character is supposed to be you,
right.
but in video, it looks like some.
But I don't look like that.
So it is a
One day.
cinematic adventure.
What?
Big surprise. Pikachu talks in
Yeah.
the trailer.
Yeah,
which
not,
is
and not
hilarious.
just like Pikachu actually does, like he talks like a Japanese businessman.
Yeah.
He's like he's a Japanese Sherlock Holmes
Okay.
with like sorry, like he talks like any Japanese TV show host. It's hilarious.
And then he meets another Pikachu, and
the
that
other
conversation
Pikachu just
was
says
riveting.
Pikachu, yeah.
Pika Pika.
So he's like, just like there are Meowth out there, and then there's one special Meowth. I think we have found our talking Pikachu, right?
Yeah.
There's a surfing Pikachu too. I don't know if it's the same guy, but
There's a wrestler Pikachu,
there's-
Lucha Libre
that's
Pikachu.
right.
I don't know what that's
No,
about.
I think it's really funny. It's like you can tell. Obviously, somebody was watching the Benedict Cumberbatch, Sherlock Holmes TV show in Japan and said, "Let's do something
Yeah.
like this for our platform." Like, what better character to pick than?
Yep.
So what do we think of this? I think it's so the trailer is hilarious. You should check it out. It's on IGN. It's everywhere. The Pika Pika convo is hilarious. But more importantly, is this an interesting experiment for Pokemon? Like,
It's
is this
so
a cool
strange.
thing or a not cool thing?
It's the most popular genre for mainstream mobile phone owners are the touch kind of discovery games,
Yeah.
right? Like hidden object games, still very, very popular. Probably some of the worst games though, like when it comes to kind of puzzle design and interactivity. But I think they're reacting to that and they're saying popular genre plus really popular characters. We don't have a full-fledged Pokemon game coming for a while. Let's put this on the eShop.
Is that how this one plays? Like one of those like bar computer games
It's-
where you have to find?
Well, it has. I think it has. No,
Because those are popular.
no.
And then Pikachu goes, Korewa. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's it's a story-driven game, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it is a linear, like figure out the case and solve it.
Yeah,
Kind
you
of a
team
game.
up with
like a
Detective
Layton
Pikachu.
type game, right?
Sherlock Holmes style story filled
Yeah.
with puzzles and mysteries is all we have to go on. There are some images in the trailer to show it.
Yep.
I think this is an
Adventure.
interesting idea. So Pokemon has tried some really weird stuff.
They've
in the more
tried
recent
everything,
future.
you know?
Pokemon Shuffle, the mystery dungeon games, Pokemon Picross,
Dash, pinball.
yeah,
Trading
there's
card.
been a lot of different experiments. Snap, if you want to go back even
Yep.
further. However, I am more interested in this simply because of what they're going for, which is this Sherlock Pikachu thing. I just hope there is an actual game here that's cool. And I think that with the other experiments they've had, the one potential pitfall to me has been that they pretty much are kind of trying to capture Pokemon's qualities, but they don't. It's basically all of them, like all
Right.
700 and whatever. This is tied to a very specific character that stands out in Pikachu, one of the most recognizable characters on the planet. I think it's a smart move to experiment, and if this is in fact a cool game, maybe even consider bringing it here, just because we'd get a bunch of giggles out of it.
Well,
Who's
look, I
gonna
mean,
voice
there's like I feel like some of these 3DS games are like mobile phone rejects, honestly. And
That's fair to
And
say.
maybe the game will be good, but they all sound like mobile games. Like a lot of the downloadable titles for the 3DS that come out of Japan, I'm like, was this part of the mobile strategy? And they said no to connect it to the core franchise, or no,
Or
we
it
need
just
something.
could have been, hey, this is what's hot on mobile.
Yeah.
Why don't we try to make our own?
Maybe, yeah. And
I
a
think
lot
it
of
comes
the,
from there.
A lot of the microtransaction based games and like, claw grabber, badge, UFO
Badge
catcher
center,
thing,
yeah,
badge
yeah.
center stuff, like they all feel very, very mobile centric. And
Yeah.
there may just be also experiments to see how will people take to it on the 3DS, and is this something how we branch
I think
out?
part of it is the company that kind of invented mobile gaming being able to say like, hey, we should still be able to do this.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you think about it, like quirky little touchscreen games, downloadable games they did with the what was it, the DSi?
Yeah.
Waggle games in WarioWare Twisted and all the other motion stuff like that. All of that is just dime a dozen on the App Store now and
Yep.
everywhere else. But they were like some of the first to do it. So I think there's still I think you're kind of right in that we're still in that area between their full rollout of all their mobile stuff, and they're still trying to service their handheld audience, which is obviously strong but kind of dwindling.
Well,
and finding a place for games like that, you know.
I kind of want to dial you guys back though, because don't forget this is a Pokemon Company creation. It sounds like you guys are kind of describing this as a Nintendo-made creation. Pokemon Company and Nintendo do not.
No, I get
cover,
that.
Like, this could be just a developer within Game Freak or within Pokemon Company itself. I don't see a developer name attached to it, so I don't know who made this.
Well, but there are also policies internally, right? Where like the balance, you know, Pokemon Company has to strike the right balance between developing games for PC and mobile and Nintendo platforms,
and
right?
what
and
Nintendo wants from it. Sure.
It's just like when I saw the trailer for that game, it just like everything about it screamed Japanese Android and iPhone market, and like
I think we're like 6 to 8 months out from them going like, we have an idea for a game. Does it go on our console? Does it go on our handheld? Or does it go on mobile? Or any combination of those three? And then when we get there, the pricing is going to be incredibly interesting because right now they can sell a game on 3DS for $39.99. I'm not sure how much this game will go for.
There was the price on it. Let me look that up.
Sure.
Keep talking.
But you can't sell a mobile game for $39.99. Right? There's almost nothing on the App Store that costs that much money unless it's.
This one was, I think it was like $15 or something.
Yeah,
it's on sale for the first week. For
it's 10.
Like 12,
I think
10,
it's
okay, cool.
10
Because I mean, like, that's something
but,
like I've seen plenty of mobile games for $10 or $15. Square Enix sells most of their mobile games for $15.
But if you buy it before February 29th, discounted price of 1,200 yen. Before that, it is 1,500 yen.
Yeah.
Cool.
So less, it's like $10.
12,
Yeah. But like I also think though that Nintendo is still internally making this like making the decisions like, is this a mobile game or is this a console or handheld game based on like how core the experience is to the different platforms. Like Pokemon Go, by the way, the Pokemon Company game, right?
Yeah.
It is location based.
By the
it
developer who
cannot
made
be
Ingress,
on any of the Nintendo platforms and be the same game.
Right.
There, when you look at that concept, you say that has to be a mobile game.
Sure, but it is tapping into what Pokemon is about, which is battling, collecting, trading, which is very cool because I feel like a lot of the other offshoot stuff doesn't try to do that. But on mobile, they are trying to do that.
Whereas, though, you know, Pikachu Detective is like, well, there's no, like, the gameplay may feel like a lot of phone mobile games, but there's no reason for it to be on those platforms. And it is Pokemon main franchise Pikachu. Therefore, can we keep it within the network? I mean, it's like it's hard to know, but I think there's more going on behind the scenes than we.
Quick aside, the Pokemon Super Bowl commercial and the Detective Pikachu commercial are two of the best ads they've done in a very
really
long
cool.
time.
They're on it.
They're fantastic, like weird little short films. I love the production value of them. The lighting is gorgeous.
Even Pokemon
cinematography.
Go fits into the same style of the Super Bowl commercial.
It reminds me a lot of there were commercials. What was it like during the N64 or the GameCube where they were like, what was the one where they're like
the one
Mario,
with the TIE Fighter and the rotating cube
stuff like that.
And stuff,
Or when you start with the original Smash Brothers commercial, I think, for the N64 or the GameCube, where there were just all the characters fighting in real life and people were walking around seeing them. Or their planet zooms out and it's shaped like Mario. Like I love stuff like that. I think they're totally nailing it on that front.
All right. Well, I'm eager to see more about it. It comes out next week, February 3rd in Japan. So you'll probably see a lot more on that on the internet for sure. All right, next up, and this is the last topic of the show, and this is we've burned a lot of time on Smash and X, man, but it was good.
talk.
I hope, it was good talk. It was good talk. Hopefully, folks at home haven't thrown their iPods in frustration.
Now they're probably writing emails because they have suggestions too. That's
they do. Yeah,
exactly.
So send them to nvc@ign.com. All right, next topic is the Fire Emblem Fates non-traversy, and I'm calling it that because it is in fact a non-traversy. But I feel we should talk about it because there are a lot of passionate fans, Nintendo fans in the world, and I feel that we've been asked, what do you think of this? So, in case you haven't been keeping up, in Fire Emblem Fates, a scene was removed that was considered to some degree, controversial. Game localization is the process of taking a product from one territory and adapting it so it does well in another territory. That's just what they do. They also removed the face-touching, petting minigame as well. That's gone. For the same reasons. Culturally, overall, like, that would not be a cool thing here at the end of the day.
Whereas in Japan, when you're walking around, you just touch around in people's faces. It's totally fine.
Well, people don't touch each other, but that's a whole other topic. To go into a few details on the scene itself that was removed, There is a female character who is attracted to other women, but she can't keep her composure around them. It is a popular Japanese trope that when someone is attracted to someone else, or the opposite sex in some cases, whoever they're attracted to, they can't really keep it together. And so there is a quest line, there's a conversation where a magic powder is used in her drink so that she basically sees all the genders inverted. So she doesn't feel strange around women anymore because they look like men.
Which is already kind of creepy in American society. When somebody puts something in your drink, it is never a good thing.
No, never at all.
Secretly so.
And it is it comes off in an unsettling way as something like gay conversion therapy, which is not
no,
cool.
totally.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Which is a hoax.
Yes. So this seems like it's out for good reasons, and yet there is some outcry of censorship. For you kids, this is self-censorship because Nintendo is ultimately doing this themselves. They're not being asked by anyone to change this.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a decision
There's
they
no
made
petition
internally.
or anything going on.
Yeah,
that I'm
the
aware
U.S.
of.
Obama didn't send a letter and said the face touching, it's got to go. That didn't happen. All right, that wasn't the case.
That's pretty good.
That's
Could you
I've never
imagine
done Obama?
that guy's list of things to deal with? He would bump everything off the list to do that.
The face touching.
But I think some folks are really like bent out of shape about this, and I can get why. Like I'm not here to
Well,
judge.
fans,
We're not here to
but
judge.
fans, we spoke with Megan earlier. Like fans of anime who are very much used to kind of like the quirkiness and the strangeness, and sometimes the kind of effed upness of Japanese topics and themes. They want to see Japanese culture and content at its fullest.
Yeah.
And so the removal to them is scary, right? Because that's where you end up with replacement of something that someone who understands Japanese culture understood, but you're removing it and, in quotes, dumbing it down. Now, like, I'm not on that side. Like, I felt the face touching thing was weird, right? Like when I played it, it seemed like cloyingly, awkwardly, like this is the closest you come to sex in this game. Kind of like it was. It was
very
strange.
suggestive to a degree.
It was very
which felt
suggestive.
Really weird. Yeah.
But at the same time, when I hear like it was removed, I was like, oh man, I'm kind of bummed out because the animations were so good. When the characters talk, like they did such a nice job with the,
You are very up close with the other character for context.
But
like they're right up
very
in your screen.
beautifully rendered faces and reactions
Well, that game
and
has a
voice
great art style.
acting.
Yeah,
and
you're
so like
right.
my immediate question is like, oh, if that's gone, does that mean like that aspect of relationship building is
No,
gone?
so-
no, that's still in.
That's
right?
still in. So
Yeah.
you can invite people to the place where the face touching happened. Doesn't happen anymore.
a weird
to your
sentence.
tree house.
But instead, the benefits of that still exist in the game. So support
Right.
conversations can still be triggered.
But is
Your-
it interactive or is it just like you invite them and boom, you get the bonus?
I think you invite them and it's the
Right.
bonus.
You're
I
not
don't think it's
cleaning
the other way
their
around.
you're not cleaning their like magic lamp.
So Nintendo hosted an RPG event that was
Sounds
pretty
bad,
cool.
too.
We got hands-on with Fire Emblem Fates.
Yeah.
We didn't get to test it out, but we asked, and that we were told the benefits were so they just didn't detail how.
Yeah.
But it does not affect how this game is going to play. Ultimately, they still capture a lot of what the core game is, which is it's an awesome Fire Emblem. Even if it is split into 3 pieces, I find each one kind of fascinating because it's like, okay, well, what happens on this chapter and what's the difference? And who am I going to see? Like these gut-wrenching decisions where if I don't lose a character to death and permadeath, I might lose a character just because I picked the Hoshido instead of the Noor.
Right,
and
right. Yeah, that
as you
happens.
grow attached to some of these characters, that's gut-wrenching. Like that, I think this is a really smart direction for this game to take.
Yes, and so that's where, talking about the face touching thing again, it's like it was one of those moments where you're up close and personal with another character. And so, I hope there is some sort of proxy for that there is something where you can still see the beautiful face animations and kind of get a sense for who the characters are in it. To be fair, there was no skill involved there, right? Like you had to find the right spot on their forehead or their necklace or wherever to rub in order to build the relationship. It
Yeah.
was not skill based. Like anyone could do it. It was kind of silly.
I mean, it was like half the puzzles in something like Hotel Dusk or something, where
Yeah,
you
but-
rotate an object, look for a glimmering light, tap it, and
But not even that. It was like the simplest interaction possible. So I'm not sad that's gone, but I want to make sure that they have something that kind of replaces that relationship building in a
or at
meaningful
least still gives
way.
you the benefits of the conversations that
yeah.
happen afterwards,
And-
because the affinity between
Right.
characters is very
Exactly.
important to Fire Emblem.
And what the character says in that scene was not deep or moving in any way. They were more like surprised that you're touching their face and stuff. It's like
Okay.
what anyone would be. Now for the gay conversion scene, it it's not going to play in the U.S.
Not at all.
Right? Like
Right.
or Europe. And I used to watch a lot of Japanese TV shows, and Japan's attitudes. Granted, this was in the 90s, but Japan's attitudes towards homosexuality were very different. They had a lot of jokes. It was kind of like like famous talk shows like Beat Takeshi, like the guy you've seen in movies like Sonatina, like he plays Yakuza a lot, right? Like he'd be dressing up as a gay guy and like prancing around in a dress and going like, oh, and like you did that in the US, people would be like, what the F is going on? Whereas in Japan, at least at the time, was still, not that it's the right thing, but it's just so normal to see that kind of over the top craziness
Well, and that's not
in theater and television.
It's also wrong. Like you are basically making fun of a culture or a subsect of people, which at the end of the day, like that's not cool.
Exactly. And so I
matter
think
where they come from.
But there have been changes in Japanese society where that has changed as well. And I talked about this before, right? Like when I lived there were signs on some bars saying no foreigners, right? Like imagine that happened here in Japan. It wasn't a big deal for a long time, and it has become a bigger deal now, right? And I think Japanese society is changing, and so sometimes you will encounter something that is not meant as art. This is not an expression, and it's not teaching you a story saying, hey, this is wrong or right. It's just it's a little thoughtless, and it's not detected when it's put in those games because those societies are different. And like you have to change the games,
right?
Yeah, no, that's what localization is. And if you're up in arms about this, like, no offense, but this song ain't about you. Like, there's more to this story than just your interests, and it may be coming from a passionate place. You just want to be more involved and play the game as it was intended. You love Japanese culture, you love certain things about it, and you think that's fine. But I'm sorry, this is not just about you.
Also, like, if you're upset about this, take the time that you would have spent writing a really angry letter or message board post to learn Japanese. And import the original version of the game and play the homophobic thing you love to play. Like, there's plenty of uses of your time. Like, import a 3DS. Play that version if that's what you want. Like, and also, like, I don't really buy the excuse that it's always been like this. Like, I read that a lot in scenarios like this. Like, it's tradition in Japan. Like, tradition at worst is a mistake that someone annualizes.
Yeah,
it's basically just
that's a good way to put it.
It's just doing the same, but it's doing a bad thing over and over. And
it's also not true. I mean, the attitudes towards homosexuality in ancient Japan, like in the Edo period, they were pretty open. If you read classic Japanese literature, I happen to have studied it in Japan, so like you go back to the days of like the pillow book, Seishonagon, like Tale of Genji stuff.
Sure,
it's very open, and like a lot of the lead characters had relationships on with both genders, and it was just kind of matter of factly and not ridiculed. And I think things have changed over the years in Japan. So it's not that it's traditional. Japan has changed so many times, and there was this phase, and you kind of see the remnants of it in modern anime and in games as well. And I guarantee you, like there are people at Nintendo in Japan who like look at that scene in that game and they said, "Yeah, let's not do that again in the next game."
Well,
right?
I mean, it's
just like Disney's looking at Song of the South and says, "It exists. We can't erase that, but if we're going to do another Song of the South, it's not going to be like that."
Right? And then you could be like, well, why don't you make it racist like the old one? Because we can't. But I mean, America's not exempt to this stuff. If you look at,
I can't believe you just said that.
No, it's true.
Going.
If you look at something like In Living Color, right, which was the '90s sitcom run by the Wayans brothers, it had those two It's Raining Men characters who were these like pseudo-gay movie reviewers. If you look at a movie like Get Hard, which is a Will Ferrell movie that came out a year and a half ago. It's incredibly homophobic. And I think when they were making it, they were like, it's the 90s and we can get away with this kind of stuff. But the audience reception was like, this is not funny.
Right.
Like, these jokes are old, they're boring, and it's not funny. It doesn't work anymore. So I think you still have a lot of that holdover from creators and creative types who try to pull from those old tropes and ideas. And that's not just a Japanese thing. That happens all over the universe. But I think moving past that is okay. And it doesn't mean that people are overly sensitive, which is what I see to everything like that. It just means that it wasn't that great. Like, I see the same thing with comedy where people are like, oh, what, is that joke offensive? No, it's just not funny. Make your joke funny and then you can go anywhere with it. Make your story interesting and you can do anything with it.
Yeah, and I would say that if you are if you understand Japanese culture and you're that invested in game concepts like that and you want to experience them, like they're not erased, right? You can find them in the Japanese version. You have to put a little bit more money in it, into it to get the Japanese 3DS in this game. I can tell you it's not worth it. None of
Especially not now.
the story elements and the gameplay, it's just not good enough for it to be something that we should lament. I get the concept of, hey, let's not censor art is a valid one. But you have to also make a distinction. You can't just, put the label art on everything that is created and attach value to it and say it needs to be preserved. Like, I do think there are nuances.
There's also
Nintendo's selling a product. This is not art. Let's go there.
Yeah, this is their own thing too.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
To an extent, some of it is. I shouldn't have said that.
no, but
Keep
I mean,
going.
like, let's give the benefit to anybody who's attempting to grow or not self-censor, but to sort of like evolve and change. Like if you listen to like even IGN podcast 6 years ago, like I know I used to say the R word a lot, like it was nothing. I said it all the time. And then 3 years ago I made a conscious decision to stop saying it. And I didn't tell you to stop saying it, or you guys don't say it, but I didn't say to the audience, hey, I hate you. Like I used to smoke cigarettes and I quit. I don't walk by smokers going, put that out. I keep to myself.
Are you not from San Francisco? I thought everyone here
I'm
does.
not.
a whole lot of judgment in
Do I
these
look like I'm
streets.
from San Francisco? But I think it's okay to grow and it's okay to acknowledge your mistakes and keep moving. And that's like you shouldn't chastise a company for doing that or a person for doing that. Like allow them to have that.
You called it a controversy. Like I wonder how
it
many
is a
people
controversy.
actually seriously are offended by the omission or are upset about it. I think it's fewer people than you think.
Well,
it's
just like
the
the,
local minority. That's the internet.
It's just
for
so
you.
more people wrote the story on that. So there was a story recently about the Deadpool movie that's coming out, right? And it's rated R. And mother wrote a story saying, a petition,
that one was hilarious.
Yeah, she made a petition saying, I want my son to see this movie, and they should make a PG or PG-13 version of it.
Like the comic.
More people publicize that story than actually sign that petition. Like there's probably 1,500 articles about that petition, and there's maybe 1,100 people who signed it.
Because it's funny. That's like me saying Quentin Tarantino redo Pulp Fiction because my
it's
4-year-old wants to
because
see
not
it.
everything has to be for everyone, and that's okay.
Sure.
But I think a lot of the times nowadays we get caught up in the people are mad. What people? 2 people on Twitter? 4 people on Facebook? That's not people. That's just a small group of people. Like, let's not take that and turn this into this massive thing. It's really not.
Yeah,
Like, this is not as big as an issue, and that's why I'm totally okay with you calling it a controversy.
And to close this out, if you are offended by this, I just want to say do not take the time to harass or bother people over this. It's becoming a thing. I think you should just let this one go because at this point you're not changing anything.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear opinions about it.
You
right?
can always
like
make
if you
a
wanna,
case, but
if you want to
don't
email
harass.
us at
Email us at
nvc@ign.com.
Yeah.
We didn't mean to come across it as preachy, but
No, not
it's
at
like one of those subjects that crops up once in a while. Where like you just got to realize that there are differences between cultures and it's okay to make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's incredible for a company or a person to stand up and go, "Oops."
Yep.
There's
All right.
tremendous value to that.
Yeah.
All right, and there's value to ending the podcast.
There's no
so
value
we need
to that.
do that right now. Thank you very much for listening to Nintendo Voice Chat. We are a weekly show on IGN, but we are not the only show on IGN, but we are the only show that seems to be late lately. You have my promise that we will try to erase that problem. I'm going to say oops. We've had a few production snags along the way, but you should be listening to this on Friday, and if you're not, and it's not my fault, that sucks for you. But if it is my fault, it shouldn't be. I'm going to make sure that we try to do that on time. We have a ton of content on the site. We just put up a bunch of videos about, we cover everything, don't we? What don't we cover these days? What's something you want?
Livestock.
Sports.
Okay, forget it. We don't
Sports,
cover everything.
livestock.
All right, Super Bowl's coming up. Apparently,
Livestock.
there's an Avenger Marvel game out. So there's a third-party game on Wii U. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lego Marvel's Avengers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And next week we're going to have Alana on to talk about it. So make sure you
Nice.
tune in for that. And you know what? Leave us feedback while you're at it. Head on over. First of all, you can send us an email, nvc@ign.com, or head on over to iTunes. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. And thank you very much for supporting us, as always. Lastly, you can find us on Twitter. You can find Brian Altano at.
Agent Bizzle.
You can find Per Schneider at.
Pair IGN.
And you can find myself, Jose_Otero on Twitter.
Just made it.
Dramatic.
Yeah, I had to pause for a second there.
And
I was
Jose,
thinking
we've
of
both been
something.
playing a lot of Zelda games, so we're going to talk about that soon, right?
We are going to
went back
find a
some
way to
old
talk about
ones.
them. I've gone back to almost everything.
Yeah.
Like I've been playing a lot.
I played through Link's Awakening from start to
Wow.
finish. To
Yeah.
remind myself, because I've been saying for years this is my favorite game of all time, and I'm like, am I right?
And
about
now
this?
it's Majora's Mask.
And no, I'm still right.
We're going to talk about it next week. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week.